Before we start today's show, make sure you subscribe to us here on Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the NBA draft is this upcoming Thursday. The Sixers might trade up into the second round. And then a week after that, the following Friday, the start of NBA free agency. We've been talking about how much of a monster offseason this is for the Sixers, how pivotal it is as we look ahead to the future, and we're going to cover every single move that the Sixers do make. So lock us in, subscribe. Let's get to 11,000 subscribers, and let's start today's show. Happy Friday. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for joining us. Hope all of you are getting set to have a fantastic weekend. As for what we're discussing on the show today, Kendrick Perkins saying that he thinks James Harden is going to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. Could the Sixers sign Christian Wood? And we'll bring you the latest on the Fred VanVleet and Bradley Beal front. But let's start here with James Harden. Kendrick Perkins on ESPN made his prediction about where the beard goes. He doesn't return to Philadelphia in Perkins' eyes. He doesn't go back to the Houston Rockets. Instead, he goes from the East Coast, city of brotherly love, to the city of angels on the West Coast in Los Angeles. And if James Harden were to go and sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, this is why it makes sense. Their point guard production last year was really bad. They started off the year with Russell Westbrook. They understood that wasn't working. They weren't playing consistent offensive basketball, so they moved off Russ. They bring in D'Angelo Russell at the NBA trading deadline. He had a couple of moments in his return to LA, but in the NBA playoffs, he was bad. And Dennis Schroeder was solid, especially as a defender, but Dennis Schroeder is not an every night starting point guard. And for Harden, let's say that he teams up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He gives them consistent scoring, which is what the Lakers didn't have last year, and they did have the best record after the NBA trade deadline, and he could be a great distributor of the basketball for LeBron James, Anthony Davis. And as LeBron gets older, AD a little bit brittle, Harden is able to shoulder some of the playmaking that the Lakers definitely needed last year in the regular season as well as in the playoffs. As for where Harden's status stands with the Sixers, here's this rumor and report from Jake Fisher, Yahoo Sports. Philadelphia has made it clear that the Sixers are focused on re-signing Harden, who has until June 29th to decline a $35 million player option for next year. Similar to last summer, it appears that Philly would prefer to sign Harden to a shorter-term agreement, one that still provides a lucrative payday for the 10-time All-Star, but doesn't present the Sixers with the possible predicament that Washington currently faces with Beal's long-term salary. So you think about Harden as a basketball player at this point of his career. In the event that James Harden leaves an NBA free agency, I've warmed up to the idea that the Sixers are comfortable with Tyrese Maxey being their number 2 option alongside Joel Embiid, and they just let him cook. His advanced shooting numbers a year ago were really, really elite. Number 7 overall across the NBA. His catch-and-shoot three-point percentage, 45.5%. That's incredible. Pull-up three-point percentage at 38.7%. When he was within 10 feet from the rim, he finished on 55% of his field goals. He also has that floater to his game. And if you look at Maxey's growth over his first 3 years, he has progressively gotten better and better. And when you look at the numbers here and you compare them to Jamal Murray, Maxey's start and his first 3 years of his career better than what Jamal Murray was able to do in his first 3 years. Now, Murray has a little bit more muscle than Tyrese Maxey, but Maxey's only an inch shorter and has a lot of the similar elements to his game that Jamal Murray has. And if we're basing this on trends, Maxey's going to continue to trend upward. And can he be a 20 to 25 points per game night and serve as Joel Embiid's Jamal Murray? And if Harden does leave, it's Maxey as your number 2 option. I've warmed up to that idea. I've remained high on Maxey ever since the Sixers drafted him. I love him as a player. I think that his personality is great. Always trying to improve his arsenal as an offensive player. Good defender as well. maybe that's the option for Philadelphia here in NBA free agency. So give me your input. Can Maxey be a legit number 2 option on the Sixers next to Joel Embiid? Y for yes or N for no? Still a lot more to get to on today's show. Fred VanVleet, Bradley Beal, Christian Wood. But how about this deal that we could talk about right now? The 76ers t-shirt shorts combo was $60. Now it's on sale for just $36. All you have to do, plug in that link below me, chatsports.com/76ers combo. You plug in that link for that deal to apply. You'll get yourself some good summertime gear. As for the latest developments around Fred VanVleet, Jake Fisher with this one as well, that the Sixers are not expected to pursue him in NBA free agency. Now, I do think that a VanVleet and Tyrese Maxey backcourt, it could work out well because the ball doesn't always die with VanVleet. He's good operating and dancing with the big on some of the screen actions, and it would still allow Maxey to cook. But Fisher with this, that the Sixers will have various paths to move forward if Harden were to walk, particularly by exploring trades for Tobias Harris, who's entering the final season of his 5-year, $180 million contract. But Philly sources said not expected to target Fred VanVleet in the event that Harden departs in free agency. Despite the obvious connection to new Sixers head coach Nick Nurse, who won a title with VanVleet in 2019, one smaller trade element to monitor for Philadelphia, the Sixers are actively seeking opportunities to acquire a second-round pick in next Thursday's draft, league sources told Yahoo Sports. So we did talk about that possibility during our live show the other day. By the way, we made history on it for our first live show. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. Very grateful for that. But in the NBA draft, you're not going to get a replacement for that production that you lose in Harden or you don't bring in Fred VanVleet. Like, you can't tell me that with the second-round pick, you're like, oh, yeah, we're cool, championship contending team, but we're going to rely a lot on a rookie second-round pick. That's not going to fly for me. It's not going to fly for Sixers fans. You have to have a backup plan. And again, if that backup plan is Tyrese Maxey, I can warm up to that idea. But can we pull off a trade for Tobias Harris to improve that starting 5 and the roster elsewhere? Also, a lot of buzz right now that the Sixers not expected to pursue Bradley Beal. Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat, really hot on that track right now. Let's round out with this. Sixers signing Christian Wood in free agency. I don't think it's going to happen. According to reports, though, the Sixers could show interest in him. I don't really like him as a player. I know that he puts up a lot of big numbers, and we'll talk about those numbers here in just a second. Christian Wood has literally been a problem everywhere that he's been. Detroit Pistons, check. Houston Rockets, check. Dallas Mavericks, check. Everybody seems to question his character. They question his fit inside the locker room. And everywhere he's been called a locker room cancer. Keep him away from Philadelphia. The production is never an issue with Christian Wood. Great size. As a big, he can stretch the floor, knock down threes. Last year, he did that with Dallas, hitting about 37.5% of his three-point attempts, 51.5% of his field goals, 16.5 and 7 points. That's great for a guy who can also put the ball on the floor at least a little bit as a big. But I don't need him taking down and tearing down this Sixers culture when Nick Nurse is trying to change that soft, enabling culture that has kept the Sixers from advancing past the second round of the NBA playoffs since 2001. It's a problem and needs to change, and Christian Wood is not going to help that. I don't care how good of a player he is. Your level of interest in Wood is what, though? I've seen some of you chirping down in the comments saying that you want him. Now's your opportunity to let me know. 1 to 100. Don't forget to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to talk ball, we're talking NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, whatever. At Chase_Senior, Twitter and Instagram. Look forward to hearing from you. Have a fantastic weekend. But here's the thing. The coverage doesn't stop right here on the show.